What's going on, Muscle Monsters? Lion Gonzalez here, and today I want to talk about clean bulking versus dirty bulking. All right, now before we jump into that, let's kind of go over what the non-negotiables are for your muscle building diet. If you want to build muscle, you have to, one, be in a positive energy balance, two, get in enough protein so that you are in a positive nitrogen balance, three, eat enough fats for hormonal balance, and then lastly, consume enough carbs so that you can perform at your peak in the gym. All right, now with a clean bulk, that's gonna happen because you're calculating everything. And with a dirty bulk, it's also going to happen naturally just from overfeeding. Okay, when you're in a caloric surplus or eating in a caloric surplus, getting in enough fats, protein, and carbs is typically not an issue. Now, in a world where we could overeat and build muscle relative to the amount of food we are consuming, we would all want to dirty bulk. But there is a finite limit to the amount of muscle we can build, and we'll use Lau McDonald's table. Maybe 20 to 25 pounds in your first year because you are hypersensitive to the stress. And then half of that the next year, so maybe 10 to 12 pounds, and then it kind of just gets lower as you get more experienced, right? Quickly in this video, I just want to go over which one might be better for you. All right, now there's going to be pros and cons to both, but we're not going to get into that. If you want to get into all the details, I did just write an article about this and I will link it down below. But I'll give you just kind of the meat and the potatoes. If you are someone who is in your first year of lifting, naturally very skinny and find it very hard to gain weight, and really don't have much of an appetite, then a dirty bulk might be beneficial. And the reason is because one of the biggest mistakes or one of the biggest drawbacks from a dirty bulk is that you gain excessive fat, right? Now, the thing with someone who is a beginner and has no appetite and finds it hard to put on any weight is that they're not likely going to be able to intuitively eat enough to put on excessive amounts of fat. Number one, because they can put on a good deal of muscle, and number two, they just don't have the appetite necessary to kind of overeat to the point where you're putting on excessive amounts of fat. Another person that might be able to get away with a dirty bulk is someone who is far more advanced and kind of has a good feel for their body, but more importantly, because of the fact that they can't really build much muscle anymore. So it really doesn't make a big difference whether they're dirty bulking or clean bulking, because the amount of muscle they can build in a year is pretty much insignificant. So either way, they'll be fine, okay? Now the clean bulk, I would say, is for pretty much anyone else, right? Anybody who wants to put on muscle mass, and prolong the amount of time they spend doing it. And here's what I mean. Okay, let's take a guy who is on a dirty bulk and he's in his second year of training. Okay, this guy is gaining 4 pounds per month, and in the span of 3 months, he gains 12 pounds. Now let's say he gained about 3 pounds of muscle, which is probably the limit, and then the rest is just fat, right? So he gains about 9 pounds of fat in 3 months, okay? He's gonna have to cut, right? At some point, he's gonna have to cut. Let's just say after the 9 pounds of fat gain, it's time to cut so that he can get back down to a body fat level that's going to make him, again, more efficient at building muscle, okay? So now he cuts for 2 months and he's back down to that body fat percentage, and he's got his new 3 pounds of muscle. So in 5 months, he's gained 3 pounds, okay? Forward another 5 months, we're close to a year, and he's gained about 6 pounds, let's say, by the end of the year. Total, after the cut and a mini bulk before the year ends, he's at 7 pounds of muscle, all right? And he spent a lot of that time in that year in a caloric deficit, okay? This is due to the excessive fat gain from the dirty bulk. All right, let's take the same guy, but he's calculated, right? So he's only gaining, say, 2 pounds per month. So in 3 months, he will have gained 6 pounds, 3 pounds of muscle, 3 pounds of fat. It's not ready to cut yet, so he continues to bulk. And what you can kind of already see where I'm going is that he's going to be able to prolong that bulk. He's going to be able to spend more time building muscle and less time in a caloric deficit. All right, so over that year, he's going to gain more muscle and spend less time dieting than the guy on the dirty bulk. Okay, so another kind of big issue with dirty bulking, in my opinion, is that and it goes back to the example that I just gave you, you're just spending too much time destroying and too little time building. When you spread that over the course of a year, is one thing, but when you spread that over the course of 5 years, and then you compare that to somebody who's been clean bulking for those 5 years, the person who's been doing the more calculated approach will have spent more time building muscle, and thus will have built more muscle in that 5-year period, and they will have spent less time trying to diet down to those body fat levels. Another thing, and this is kind of a big one, is the nutrient partitioning. The fatter you get, the more inefficient you become at building muscle, and the more efficient you become at building fat or gaining fat. And you can see that it's just not efficient. And it just doesn't make sense either, because typically someone who wants to dirty bulk, they like to do it because they enjoy food. Unfortunately, those same guys who enjoy food are going to have to restrict food more often, all right? So I guess the final takeaway is, if you're a naturally skinny guy, you're a beginner, you have a shitty appetite, and you need to gain weight, by all means, dirty bulk, stuff your face, whatever it takes. If you have been training for, say, 5 to 6 years, you're at that point where it really doesn't matter because you're not going to make that many gains, then go ahead, dirty bulk if you please. If you don't mind the excessive fat gain and having to cut and kind of going back and forth, that's completely fine. You're not missing out on much muscle. Everybody else, try to be calculated, prolong that bulk, give yourself enough time to grow, to get stronger, and try not to spend so much time dieting and restricting calories. There's a lot of negative effects there that you can avoid. And so that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got what you were looking for. If you haven't already, make sure to grab Mass in a Flash. It's completely free. It's got a 12-week training program plus a nutrition guide. So just go to the link below, put your name and your email address, you'll get instant access to that. And again, I did write an entire detailed article. It's about 2,000 words going over all of the pros and cons of both, so you can make a better informed decision on whether you should clean bulk or dirty bulk. And make sure to subscribe for more videos, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.